Hey guys, Scott here. I am starting this little series to explore some of the different combinations and patches that I like to mess around with semi-modular and modular gear. And one of the great things about modular is there's just so many different combinations to lock your gear in with other gear and make some really cool sounds and music. Today I want to focus on where it all started for me, the Moog grandmother. You can hear its spring reverb right now. This is where basically all the building blocks I have learned from semi-modular and modular gear started with this guy. And I today want to focus on sequencing the second oscillator, making it dance around the root note that we're playing, and we're going to do that in three different ways. We're going to use the sample and hold, we're going to use the envelope, and then we're going to use some LFOs on my Euro rack, and we're going to be sending them through a quantizer, and that will constrain the voltage and keep it in scale to a scale of my choosing. Alright, let's have some fun. See what happens. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, and the easiest way to make the second oscillator dance around the first, is with the sample and hold. And the sample and hold is basically random voltage. If you do not have the frequencies of these two oscillators synced up, you can hear that it's just all over the place. So you definitely, it's nice to have this nice sync button, keeps the frequencies in line with each other. So it's still a little wonky, so we're going to send this signal through a quantizer. And first I want to go through the attenuator, which lets us adjust the strength of the signal being sent. And we're going to bring this guy through, there's tons of different quantizers. I have the Disting MK4, dubbed the switchblade of Euro rack modules, since it can do like 100 different things. We're going to bring that in to the quantizer, it's the H3 setting, and bring it back out into the pitch of oscillator 2. Let's see how that sounds. And now if you want to have a little more fun, I've got the DFAM here. I've already just put in a pretty basic beat. If you want to take the trigger out of the DFAM, bring it into the sync of the modulation section here, it will keep that sample and hold in sync with the beat. So. So that's the first way I like to sequence the second oscillator. Super simple. The second thing I want to do here is use the envelope. So we're going to do same kind of deal. We still have this attenuator out to the quantizer. So we're going to take the envelope. I like to use the plus envelope out into the attenuator. And so now, one of the cool things I like to do, and one of my favorite ways to play the second oscillator around the root note, is to take the attack, decay, release all the way down. And now this will let us basically just play the second oscillator with the root note, with the sustain, this sustain slider. This is honestly one of my favorite ways to play scales. I'm not that great of a keyboardist, and it sounds like I am. And you can change the scale that you're working with. I believe 12 is the pentatonic scale. Then pentatonic minor is the next one. Let's try one of the triad scale options. And then on going off of that, you can mess around with your attack, your decay, your release, and you can get all sorts of fun combinations. Let's put the attack up. And there's all sorts of different combinations you can mess around with this. And so that's the second way I like to sequence the second oscillator. And the third way is with an LFO. So the LFO on the grandmother is really basic. Just your standard sawtooth, square, sine wave. And so I'm going to use the spherical wavetable navigator, because it has a whole variety of LFOs, and it goes from basic to really random ones with really cool rhythmic patterns. Let's skip the quantizer right off the bat and just see how it sounds just going straight into the pitch. And we're gonna sync it up with the DFAM. So I'm gonna take the trigger out of the DFAM, bring it to the clock in, start this guy up. Okay, now this is a good example of why you want to use an attenuator, because that signal is flying all around. We're going to go LFO into attenuator and attenuator out to the oscillator 2 pitch in. And let's hear the difference. So you can see how the attenuator adjusts the strength of that LFO signal. Okay, let's go back to the quantizer and see how this sounds. So LFO into quantizer. Say quantizer one more time, Scott. Alright, let's go out to the attenuator. Alright, let's change up the LFO and try a different pattern here. And the speed. It's all about fine adjusting and finding that sweet spot. mess around with the different waveforms of the oscillators, see what fits you well. Alright, and there you have it. 3 different ways you can sequence the second oscillator of the Moog grandmother, and having some quantizing action along for the ride. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial, and if you have any patching ideas or anything, anything related to this, share it in the comments, and bounce some ideas off each other, and we could learn from each other, and that's what it's all about. Alright, till next time, have a good one.